Hello, everybody, and welcome to TalkAbout, your weekly news show where I, Alex Brown, gather up the top gaming headlines from the past week and break them down with you. This week's headlines include Baldur's Gate 3 officially confirmed to be releasing on Xbox consoles later this year, layoffs at Bioware. We'll be talking about all of that and so much more on this week's episode of TalkAbout. Of course, there's still no cool intro, but I do have an idea for one. So maybe not next week, but the week after that, there could be a cool new intro. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, before we get too far away from that stinger, whatever you want to call the opening, there is a lot of news. So much news. There's just so much news because if you recall, these past 2 weeks have not been too busy in terms of news, and this week is certainly making up for that. So much so that there's no discussion topic because there's so many news stories that I had to narrow it down to which ones I was actually going to talk about. The ones that I actually had something to bring to the table of discussion, at least, so to speak, if you follow my drift. But before we get too ahead of ourselves into the news, let's slow it down a second and talk a little bit about the channel. Because, I always do that at first, at the top of the show, while the most people are still here. Because, audience retention. It is what it is. But of course, if you'd rather just skip to the news stories, all the timestamps are always included in the description below if you want to skip to whatever news story interests you the most. But for now, on this side, this channel, I just wanted to update you guys. As you are watching this, it is Sunday, which is the normal day that TalkAbout releases, which is normal and fine. And next week up, or the next episode is not gonna be releasing on Sunday. It's gonna come out on either Thursday or Friday. More than likely Friday, if we're being completely honest with ourselves and just the editing time and my procrastination. But yeah, the reason for that, of course, is because, well, have you looked at your calendar? Starfield early access is starting this weekend, so I don't want to be sitting here gathering news stories, talking about the news when I could be playing Starfield. You understand? It's all about Starfield. So next episode is going to be coming out a few days earlier, which that's great news for some people. It's going to be my review in progress of Armored Core 6, because obviously that just came out and I have not had much time to play it yet. So by then, I'll have more time to get into it and really have something to talk about. You see what I did there? But yeah. And what else? What else about the channel? Yeah, that's it. That's really it. So earlier episode next week. And beyond that, I don't know if you've noticed, mic quality sounds so much better. I figured out how to use Wavelink. I know it's crazy. I didn't know how to use Wavelink this whole time. But yeah, the audio sounds way better, and that's very good news for everyone. But yeah, let's dive into the news. And as I mentioned at the top, there is so much news. So much news, in fact, that I'm just going to heavily be relying on Video Games Chronicle to get all these write-ups in, because they're just the most consistent, and they're good at their jobs. Okay, so everyone go give Video Games Chronicle a click. This isn't sponsored at all, but you know what? That's fine. They deserve the clicks because they're putting in the hard work to make this show easier to produce. But yeah, let's turn to the news from this past week, starting with some pretty great news for Xbox fans. The headline reads like this: Baldur's Gate 3 will be coming to Xbox this year, with split screen removed for Series S. And this one was written up by Chris Scullion. Larian founder and CEO Svev Vinky posted on Twitter that a solution... Also, shout out to Chris Scullion for continuing to call it Twitter, because that's just, come on, it's Twitter. posted on Twitter that a solution had been found that would allow the game to be released on Series X and S this year. This is a quote directly from Vinky. Super happy to confirm that after meeting Phil Spencer yesterday, we found a solution that allows us to bring Baldur's Gate 3 to Xbox players this year still. Something we've been working towards for quite some time, Vinky tweeted. All improvements will be there with split-screen co-op on Series X. Series S will not feature split-screen co-op, but will also include cross-save progression between Steam and Xbox Series. So that's the relevant part of the news story. That's enough of a talking point. It's enough of a jumping off point for me to tackle that. Obviously, that's great news. Of course, it's unfortunate that it's coming later than the PS5 version, but is it? Is it really? The whole release strategy for Baldur's Gate 3 was that moved up the PC release to get away from the PC release of Starfield, and the PS5 version rather is releasing the same day as Starfield. So if Baldur's Gate 3 were to come to Xbox in line with the PS5, that would just be too much going on that day, you know. Personally, I think the best date, I mean, using the logic that they've already, demonstrated by releasing the PS5 version the same day as Starfield, since PS5 players won't be able to play Starfield that day, of course, take all the time you need. But the best case scenario, release Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox, October 20th. That would be the perfect day, because if you haven't been following along, keeping up to date with the news, that's the same day Marvel Spider-Man 2 comes out. So that would be a really fun, inverse of what they did for the PS5 release. I don't know if they're that close, but considering the only sticking point to the Baldur's Gate not coming to Xbox was the split screen on Series S, and they've just axed it completely. And maybe it's sooner than we think, because before they were saying it would not be this year, but now all of a sudden axed the split screen on Series S and it's coming out this year, which, it's great news for Xbox players, but it put me in a little bit of a pickle, if I'm being completely honest, because I would prefer to play it on my Xbox, but I also would like to play it as soon as possible. So I'm probably still going to get it on PS5, even though when it comes out on Xbox, I'll be like, man, should have waited. Because I just prefer my Xbox. It's my preferred platform. But if I had Baldur's Gate 3 installed alongside Starfield installed, that's like 200 gigabytes right there. So it makes sense to spread both of these massive games across my consoles. And it would give me a reason to turn on my PS5. So it works out in the end, I suppose. Very exciting things. But in terms of less exciting things for the RPG world, we, of course, come back to Video Games Chronicle for our next story. Bioware is laying off 50 employees. This one was written up by Tom Ivan, also Video Games Chronicle, of course. And it reads like this. In a blog post, BioWare General Manager Gary McKay said reorganizing its teams was necessary as the Electronic Arts studio rethinks its approach to development. It reads, in quote, "In order to meet the needs of our upcoming projects, continue to hold ourselves to the highest standard of quality, and ensure BioWare can continue to thrive in an industry that's rapidly evolving, we must shift towards a more agile and more focused studio," he wrote. "It will allow our developers to iterate quickly, unlock more creativities, and form a clear vision of what we're building before development ramps up," he added. After much consideration and careful planning, we have built a long-term vision that will preserve the health of the studio and better enable us to do what we do best: create exceptional story-driven single-player experiences filled with vast worlds and rich characters. This vision balances the current needs of the studio, namely ensuring Dragon Age Dreadwolf is an outstanding game, with its future including the success of the next Mass Effect. This is Tom Ivan. McKay claimed the company is doing everything it can to ensure the process is handled with empathy, respect, and clear communications, and said it had chosen to act now, in part to provide our impacted colleagues with as many internal opportunities as possible, as the changes coincide with a large number of roles currently being available across EA's other studios. And that's where we will jump off into this more of discussions part of it. Obviously, layoffs suck. And once again, we're here we are. I've only been doing this show like a few months, and this is already the second news story about layoffs. Also, I think it was CD Projekt Red the last time, and I believe that they also said that they're doing the layoffs to have a more agile studio, which is weird. Weird that that vernacular is just being thrown across all of these studios when they have layoffs now. But considering that BioWare's history, BioWare, for all intents and purposes, has not made a good to great even game since Dragon Age Inquisition. There was Mass Effect Andromeda, of course. There was Anthem, both of which were not met with great reviews from critics or consumers alike. And I have to imagine, okay, with EA the way that they were in those years when those games released, Andromeda and Anthem, that was when EA was at its scummiest. I can't speak to any truths here, of course. This is complete speculation. I don't know what any of the real purpose or what these roles were that were, laid off. But considering the past works, I have to imagine that these roles were like the multiplayer games as a service type of roles that they built for Anthem, but simply no longer need going forward with Dragon Age Dreadwolf and the new Mass Effect. That's what I have to imagine this is all about. Just the fact that those roles were no longer needed as BioWare refocuses and tries to essentially become what they once were and build those sprawling RPG worlds with those hard-hitting narratives and all of that, instead of, the Andromedas and Anthems of the world. Maybe they should just stay away from, titling with an A. Maybe they should stay away from that. Of course, I don't know for certain. No, there's no way to know for certain unless, of course, you're one of these people affected. The silver lining, of course, is that they did this right when there were a large number of roles being available across EA's other studios, and they are working to get as many of those laid off employees different positions at different studios. So that's the one hopeful bit of news from that, at least. Ideally, this round of layoffs do actually help them focus more on being what they used to be and launching Dreadwolf to be a worthy successor to Dragon Age Origins and Inquisition. We don't talk about Dragon Age 2, but yeah, what else can be said about that? Onto one more bit of a downer news. Just the last bit of a downer news. Also, once again, shout out Video Games Chronicle for making this show easier to produce. Charles Martinet will no longer be voicing Mario, Nintendo says. This was written up by Chris Scullion at, of course. Yep, you guessed it, Video Games Chronicle. In an official tweet, the company stated that Martinet? I think it's Martinet? I think it's Martinet. I'm going to go with Martinet. Martinet, who has voiced the mascot for over 25 years, will be stepping down from voice acting duties and will instead be taking on a new role of Mario ambassador. And then this was the quotes from the statement itself. Charles Martinet has been the original voice of Mario in Nintendo games for a long time, as far back as Super Mario 64. Charles is now moving into the brand new role of Mario Ambassador. With this transition, he will be stepping back from recording character voices for our games, but he'll continue to travel the world, sharing the joy of Mario and interacting with you all. And it's a bummer because obviously everyone loves Charles Martinet. Everyone, obviously, I mean, Mario doesn't talk that much. He's one of the most iconic voices, regardless of that fact. And it's interesting that it's interesting that he's still working for Nintendo. I guess just because I wonder what went on with that discussion there, the business meetings behind it all. How they're like, hey, we'll keep you around, but you're not going to voice Mario anymore or any of the characters. Like, how does that happen? Like, why not? Did he want to step back from the voice? And if he wanted to quit, why did they go, hey, you can keep working for us though? It's interesting. It's neat that he gets to stick around with the Nintendo. I'd imagine it's because obviously his voice super iconic as Mario, and they just want him on the payroll still so they can control what he says and not just have him go on Cameo and doing the Mario voice like that. But either way, it's the end of an era, and supposedly his last role is already done. Like in Super Mario Brothers Wonder, that's not him. And apparently people noticed that from the original trailer, which I thought was crazy. I was like, what are they talking about? That sounds just like him. Turns out it's not. So very keen ears on those people. They have big ears, much like an elephant, some might say. Do elephants have good hearing? Or they just have big ears? I don't know. Anyways, on to happier, greater news, quite honestly. Once again, shout out to Video Games Chronicle. Shout out to Tom Ivan and Chris Scullion just holding it down over here. I appreciate you guys. Anyways, next news story is Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty trailer shows off new features, including vehicle combat. CD Projekt has released a new trailer for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, which is viewable below, and I'm going to put pieces of it on the video version, of course. You'll see it. Set for release on September 26th, the expansion promises to entirely overhaul the way Cyberpunk 2077 is played, according to CD Projekt. It's very funny that they put that, because it's like, hey, just in case. In an interview in June, creative director Paul Sosco and quest designer Desponia Antaki. I think I got that. I apologize if I didn't. Told VGC that all the core main systems of the game have been redone or updated in a major way. And it is this. Oh, this is me now, jumping off point. And this trailer very much demonstrates that. I just wanted the excuse to talk about Cyberpunk 2077, and this was a great time to do it. There was a bunch of new stuff. There's a new perk system, new weapons, just overhauled police mechanics. What do you call it? Police systems. Just all of it is just like enhanced, and it's crazy. So I'd just like to thank everyone for beta testing this game for these past few years for me. I have not played it yet. It's been sitting on my shelf since the December it came out, and I will finally play it. when Phantom Liberty comes out. I'm very excited for the first time. Obviously, also the trailer that you're seeing above me, not above me, I'm not visible, but you know, the video that you're seeing. This is on PC with the highest ray tracing, path tracing, fidelity, and all that jazz possible. So it's going to look pretty good, but it's not going to look this good unless, of course, you have that enabled, which shout out to you. That's expensive to do, but I'm looking forward to it because I've only played the first hour of the game like twice when I thought I was going to start it when it came out. And then I was like, I'll wait. And then I was going to start it when everyone's like, hey, it's pretty good now. And then I didn't pick it back up. I don't remember why. But with Phantom Liberty and the Idris Elba of it all, of course, I'm gonna get into it for reals this time. Of course, assuming I can pull myself away from Starfield. Oh my God, can I? Oh no, and Baldur's Gate 3. Ooh, that's gonna be rough. We'll see what happens, but I have every intention to finally actually play Cyberpunk 2077. But speaking of things I also have every intention to play, but considering how busy the season is, we'll see how it goes. Diablo 4. This is, of course, Video Games Chronicle by Tom Ivan. Blizzard has announced Diablo 4's second season. And now I'll just read it, then I'll talk, of course. Titled Season of Blood, is set to be released on October 17th. Season of Blood will introduce a new quest line for you to uncover vampiric powers to wield against their originators, 5 additional endgame bosses with the ability to target specific unique and uber items as a drop, and more, Blizzard said. That's honestly all we're gonna do. That's all we're gonna do as a jumping off point, because all I wanted to talk about was a little bit of Diablo talk, okay? Season 1, whatever, you know, like I really enjoyed Diablo 4, the Eternal Realm, but with Season 1, it was just kind of, wasn't much going on. It was just more, it felt like it was just more Diablo, which isn't a bad thing, but I just thought it was going to be more than what it was. But with this Season of Blood thing, that's pretty cool, you know? You got vampire abilities. That's going to be cool. I just wanted to talk about how cool that's going to be. I know Diablo 4's seasonal updates aren't necessarily something everyone's into, but it's definitely something I want to be more into. And definitely, definitely vampires during Halloween spooky season. Come on. And also, Gemma Chan is voicing a new NPC. And come on, you gotta love Gemma Chan. Come on now. But yeah, that was a quick one. Oh, rapid fire. We're getting a little long in the tooth here, I'll be honest. This is with me narrowing down the news stories as well. But on to this next news story. Also, Tom Ivan, Video Games Chronicle, as you guessed. This is exciting news as well. I'll read it to you first, and then we'll talk about it. That's what the show's all about. Amazon's Fallout TV show is coming in 2024 and takes place in Los Angeles. Bethesda and Amazon have confirmed that the Fallout TV show will be released in 2024 and is set in Los Angeles. That was kind of repetitive, but I appreciate you, Tom Ivan. Don't worry about it. Amazon released the poster below, which I'll put on the screen. Look at that. Ooh. AI generated, which is awful. But that's what we have so far. Hopefully that's the only indication of it being AI. Let me keep reading, then I'll talk about this. Anyways, Amazon released yeah, I read that. The teaser, which aired following a Starfield presentation, won't be publicly released, but Bethesda's Todd Howard said bigger looks at the show will be coming soon. The teaser reportedly featured Brotherhood of Steel soldiers, a shootout in a Western-inspired town, and a woman emerging from the vault for the first time. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. One of the movies which inspired Starfield is the movie Interstellar, written by Jonathan Nolan. He goes by Jonah, says Howard. I got to know Jonah, and I always wanted to make a Fallout TV show. So I talked to Jonah about it, and we have been making the Fallout TV show that's coming, and we thought we would give you a sneak peek. And then, of course, they did get to watch the teaser, which, good for them. Apparently, we don't get to see it though. It has leaked online, so if you want to look around for it, go nuts. I'm not going to put it here. Obviously, I'm not trying to get any copyright strikes on this channel, but it's exciting. And with the team behind it, it's the team behind Westworld. Specifically the team behind Westworld Season 1. I don't know about the rest of Westworld, but I know everyone unanimously loved Season 1 of Westworld. And that's the team that is doing Fallout TV series on Amazon Prime. And Amazon Prime has been pumping out some great stuff. So, very exciting. Also, Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother. Honestly, I prefer him to his brother. I prefer Jonathan over Chris. Fight me. Anyways, hey. Were we talking about Todd Howard just then? You know what other game Todd Howard has made or is making or is about to release? Starfield. You know what that means. It's time for Starfield Watch. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Starfield Watch, your one-stop shop for all your Starfield news needs. Here's your update. Early access is 4 days away. Using the the midnight release thing of whatever your local time zone is, find out what it is, okay? And say goodbye to your loved ones. Okay. Worldwide release, of course, 10 days away. But just get early access. Come on now. I've been a naysayer of early access for the longest time just because it really messed up my plans. Because I did not take off. The time I took off did not consider early access as a thing. So I'm not off until the game is officially released. But it's really smart considering it's launching on Game Pass. And to get early access, you have to spend $40. So it's, you're still getting the initial sales push from the game because a lot of people are going to be partaking in the early access, especially considering most people are going to be off for those 3 days of Labor Day weekend. Shout out. Wait. Yeah, it's Labor Day weekend when it comes out. Awesome. That's awesome for the common gamer. It's more people are going to be off this weekend than most ever, right? So that's cool. But what's not cool is that leaks are beginning to surface. So be careful out there, folks. This is your warning. I'm sure you've seen several warnings elsewhere before, but this is Starfield Watch. This is the only warning you need to listen to, okay? Anyways, which leads us to a news story coming also from Video Games Chronicle, written by Tom Ivan. Starfield leaker arrested after allegedly stealing copies of the game. They don't mess around over at Bethesda Game Studios, folks. It reads like this. A man whose leaked Starfield gameplay went viral has been arrested for allegedly stealing and attempting to sell copies of the game online, among other charges. As reported by Kotaku, 29-year-old Darren Harris was booked by the Shelby County, Tennessee Sheriff's Office on August 24th. He's facing a felony charge of $2,000 to $10,000 worth of stolen property, a misdemeanor charge of $1,000 or less of stolen property, and a misdemeanor charge for possession of marijuana. A few days prior to his arrest, Harris published approximately 40 minutes of Starfield gameplay footage on his YouTube channel. While Bethesda's parent company ZeniMax Media did its best to contain the leak, the original video and shorter clips were widely circulated online. Harris later tweeted a video review, quote unquote, of the game in which he referenced Starfield director Todd Howard and addressed online reactions to how he played it. And that's all I'm going to read there because I don't want to get too into what could potentially be seen as leaks to some people. That's all we have to talk about. I just wanted to say, hey, if you get early access to a game, be cool, okay? It's not, I mean, come on. Facing charges of up to $10,000, it's not worth the one day of fame you're going to have on the internet. The news moves so fast on the internet that you're going to be irrelevant by the end of the month, by the end of the week, honestly, because reminder, review embargo drops this Thursday. So it would have been anything that he said would have been irrelevant within a week. So I just don't understand why. Like, why? Just be cool. If you so happen, like, even if you aren't reviewing the game, if you just through other means got a game early, just be cool. You know, don't try to ruin the experience for other people, you know? I mean, if I had Starfield right now, no one would know about it. You just would not see my face for the longest time is all. Like, yeah, if I was playing Starfield, you just wouldn't hear from me. I don't understand why. I just don't understand how or why he was compelled to do that. But yeah, for our last bit of Starfield news, I just wanted to bring this to attention. And this comes from Insider Gaming. Whoa, different. By Grant Taylor Hill. Starfield's protagonist almost had a voice. And that's all I really wanted to jump off of. I mean, shout out to the Insider Gaming for the article, of course, but I just wanted to jump off from that. I needed a source, you understand? And I have the source. Thank you, Insider Gaming. But yes, Starfield almost had a voice protagonist, and I, for one, am glad that they did not go that way, because for as much as I enjoy Fallout 4, I think we can all safely admit the voice protagonist was not a great idea. Because it doesn't really... You get more options to roleplay when you do your own voice. You know, when you read out your dialogue options, that's you. You're the one who's playing the game. This is your character you created. You give them their voice. And that way, you also don't have to record 8 different dialogue options. Because, of course, Fallout 4 was limited to just the face buttons, which made your dialogue choices kind of garbage as a result. But yeah, that's all of your news for Starfield Watch this week. And yeah, thanks for stopping by on the Starfield Watch. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, review embargo goes up August 31st, so be ready for that. Hey, welcome back to TalkAbout. Thanks for watching. What's it called? What do you call it? Starfield Watch. That's what I called that. Anyways, there were more news stories, but we're so long in the tooth that I'm honestly just going to wrap it up here. The only other news story was Project Q being officially renamed to the PlayStation Portal. I guess I brought it up. I'll talk about it real quick. It's directly from the PlayStation blog. We're so long in the tooth. You've seen it. You see it in front of you. I'm showing the video. And, yeah, it's a remote play device only. And I don't know who this is for. It sounds like it's only really for husbands and fathers, because the primary use case seems to be for when someone is using the TV and you can't play natively on your PS5, because this is not designed to leave the house. From all of the impressions we've heard from all across the internet, you can find them. I'm just rapid firing through this one because wow, what a big news week. I hope that they market this correctly, because if they don't market it as strictly a stay-at-home second screen thing, people are going to be very upset, expecting essentially a PlayStation Portable. Also, come on, why is it called a PlayStation Portal? That's way too close to a PSP, PlayStation Portable. It's still also a PSP. It's too close to PS. It's too Portal is too close to portable. It's like you had to come on. The branding on this is very likely to get confusing for the average consumer out there walk into a Best Buy. That's all I have to say on the PlayStation Portable. Nope. You see, I already messed it up. PlayStation Portal. And there was a lot of news. I also did an Armored Core 6 review roundup, but I mean, we're so long, so we're not going to do that. I'll just shove that into next episode when I also do my review in progress of Armored Core 6. But yeah. For now, I just have to say, hey, what news story spoke to you the most? Yeah, let me know in the comments below. And thanks for sticking around this long. This was a long episode. There's a lot of news to talk about, which is what we do here on TalkAbout. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for sticking around. Next episode, of course, will be my review in progress for Armored Core 6, and that's all I gotta say. Are you ready for Starfield? Have you been? Ooh, you know what? Use the link in the description that I always put that no one uses to write in about with what you think of Armored Core 6. If you made it this far, you're a real one who is more likely to do that anyways. But yeah, until then, stay safe and play some video games.